Welcome everyone to a patch update review for the upcoming Heroes and Allies. This is the big update review. For the first start, we'll be looking at new units and heroes. We'll also look at the allies. And let's have a look. At high level, the big update makes the beginning of the end of the beta, so we'll be going into the version 1.0. I'm really hoping they find a way to make money, but not in terms of a paywall, but rather just skins, cosmetics, so it supports the developers and Valve looks into it. They say, hey, this makes money, I want to invest, I want to promote it. So that's what we're really hoping for. And we'll be looking to the review of Heroes and Alliance as the start. Let's get started. So we have the Healer Alliance and Dazzle. Dazzle is a chore. If you look closely, you can see that some of the units over here, they actually are no longer a part of the existing alliance. They have switched to healer. What I believe is Enchantress will still be a druid. She might not be a savage, but she will definitely be a healer. Warlock is no longer a warlock, I think, and he will be a healer. And so is Necromancer. He is going to be an undead healer instead of a warlock. This is going to be tricky because it was so useful to have Necromancer in, and it was so powerful to have him healing and doing damage and healing with the warlock damage. So this indirectly is going to affect the existing alliance. But having a healer alliance, I believe the effect of all healing effects is amplified. This is close to 75%. I'll leave that aside. How do I know the numbers? But it is quite high. Maybe 50%, maybe 75%. So it's definitely high and definitely valuable for what's to come. The downside is there's only 5 units we have, and we actually need 3 of them to make the healer alliance. If you look carefully, the best combination we can think from the healer side is the Dazzle, Only Knight, and Necro, which naturally goes into a Troll alliance and with the Knights, because Dazzle is a Troll, and Only Knight usually goes with the Necro with Forefront Grace as well, or if he's in a Knight alliance. So keep that aside. I think it will be an early game dominance with Enchantress, Mr. Warlock, and Dazzle. Later we can go into the Knights. So the healer is going to help the Knights out. What a surprise, right? Now, Dazzle, as the new hero to be added. There will be a lot of new heroes to be added, and as we go through them, some of them are quite interesting. Dazzle is going to be the 5th Troll. Having the 5th Troll means you can start your Troll alliance so much earlier, and with the Dazzle Shadow Wave, you can actually do quite good damage, because if they use the coding from Dota 2, the Shadow Wave is actually a physical damage, and this in return will do damage and heal your allies. So Dazzle is not just a priest, he can also deal great damage. And after Dazzle, what I'm thinking is if we look into insects, Dazzle actually might interact with the insects very nicely in terms of damage. The second alliance we'll look into are the insects. The alliance is ready to bug your opponents with 3 heroes. Again, this is a 3 unit alliance, and there are only 4 insects. Closely, if we look at them, this is likely going to favor the assassins. This is good in 2 ways. One is that the assassins actually want something to tank for them. The little buggies or the little, the little spiderlings that spawns will help them tanking, and helping them having a mischance will also help the assassins. So, looking over here, the actual insects that are added or existing one is Sand King. Sand King is, well, he might lose his savage effect. I'm thinking they might change the savage, and in return they added in the insects. The first insects we have is Waver. Waver is insect and hunter, and it is a tier 2 unit. With Sakuchi, I believe the damages won't be high. It's probably 100, 150 or 200 maximal-ish. The Sakuchi is nice, it's like a positional spell as well. If you think about it, it's basically Morphling, basically flying around. Instead of flying, Waver will run super fast and move through the targets and do damage to them. He will also reposition himself. So it's very similar to Morphling, but it's a hunter Morphling kind of buggy. Now the Waver is going to be another hunter, so likely we'll have 8 hunters. This allows us to pick the hunters into 6 hunters more easily, and we don't have to bank on Medusa or high tier hunters. And again, insects will help us tank up. The second assassin, or the second insect, is Nyx Assassin. Nyx Assassin have 2 spells. The first spell is Spike Carapace. Once he uses spell, whoever is doing damage to Nyx's assassin, regardless if it's an AoE damage like Enigma, or if you have dealt spell damage to him, if you accidentally hit him, even on a cleave attack, he will actually pop the Spike Carapace during those 1 or 2 seconds of the duration of the Carapace. Whoever damaged him, the damage will be reflected as pure damage, and he will actually stun him. So this is a great unit if you're thinking about dealing with a lot of things. And he's a tier 1, so this can be a great unit if the enemy has a Dagon, if they do like a direct damage or some kind of burst. If Tusk punches you and you have the Carapace on, all of a sudden Tusk's damage will be reflected. And it's pretty cool. Second to that, Vendetta. So Vendetta is very similar to Templar Assassin. After teleporting, the Templar Assassin will do minus armor and a bonus physical damage. Nyx Assassin will do bonus damage with next attack and also break the enemy. Now, what happens when you break the enemy? They will lose all their passives. Jorringer will lose her aura. The Luna will lose her bounce effect, and units that have a passive will lose their passive. This is very similar to Viper's skill, but this is like a direct targeting. What's great about this skill is if there's a special unit that really depends on their basic attacks like the Luna, if you hit her, her damage will not be able to deal with assassins, and all of a sudden she's as if she's doomed. So this is quite nice, and I think Nyx Assassin is definitely going to be a great assassin to add, because the Spike Carapace is a short duration but effective spell. If the II is timed correctly, it can be very powerful. And Vegeta just means more damage. Assassin wants damage. Bonus damage with crits, it's not bad. So the break would not affect items from my understanding, but if the coding is correct, it should not. So yeah, it shouldn't affect the passives from items. So the regeneration passives from heart, or if you have other auras, it should not affect that. Lastly, we have a high tier assassin Warlock. Oh wait, sorry, we have an insect Warlock. We have the Broodmother. The Broodmother is a strange Warlock, I have to say, because if you look at her ability, it is a spin web. I believe the cooldown is about 20 to 30 seconds-ish. And the Broodmother spin a web on top of enemy, and enemies in the web loses attack speed, movement speed, and cast speed. This is a big thing with cast speed. This might be like a side counter to the mages, because some of the mages, if you look at when mages are affected by Batrider, the Batrider stacks, if you stack like 7 onto them, you can see the Lina like waves her hand ever so slowly, then she swings her hand down. And this is the cast speed. Even instant casting spells will be affected by cast speed. So this might be interesting. But the biggest thing is attack speed and movement speed. She can be a counter for the warriors, definitely. And even, the mini units like Slag, Terrorblade, very interesting. The downside is being a Warlock, you want to do a burst damage, so you can start healing with your Soul Link. But if you do not have a burst damage, your spell doesn't do damage. It doesn't say damage here. So what that means is she's like a support Warlock. But as a support Warlock at tier 4 level, we have an Alchemist. We had Necro. I don't think Necro is no longer a Warlock. We also had... Ooh, who's that other Warlock? Come on, Brink. Hey. Let's have a quick look. Come on now. Where's my other Warlock? So, yes, my support Warlock. Oh, actually, there's only 2 4-cost. That's right. I remember there's a few. So, there's only 2 4-cost Warlock. The Alchemist is one. Necro is gone, unlikely. So, the Spider, the Broodmother, is going to replace Necro, which is going to be a loss of healing and loss of damage, I reckon, for the actual Warlock Alliance. But, that said, the plus side of having insects is you get little dudes. And why are they good is that with the little dudes, the Dazzle Heal, which does a bolt of power that heals between allies, if the enemy is surrounded by the little spiders and the Dazzle heals the spiders won't get healed, by the way. They have I think they have 1 or 10 HP or something, or maybe 100, I'm not sure. So when they heals them, the spider will not benefit too much from the healing, but they will actually be a source of damage with Dazzle. For those that played Dota 2 before, the Dazzle is actually a very potent healer with Meepo and with like a lot of melee units. We used to have like Skeleton King, Juggernaut, we just swarm the enemy, and Dazzle heals and just does a burst damage. So Dazzle can be a potential damage dealer. And on top of that, I think this is a pretty good patch. We'll look into tomorrow's review with the part 2 of the Alliance. I believe there's more Alliance to come. Well, I don't believe I've seen a few of them, but I want to keep it as a surprise as they release to us. Overall, I think this is a great approach. We can't wait for the next week's patch. And on the side is that I did see somewhere on Reddit saying that they might have like a shortage of staff because on the Twitter they were looking for more staff members. I'm hoping they can work that out and really get the version before the, basically on next week Friday for October. I'll be super excited to play this, and we just want to test everything. Want to test out the co-op mode, want to test the combination of healers, the insects, want to test everything out. So super excited. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about new healer alliance, which will be amplify healing by at least 50 or 75%, I reckon. And the insect alliance, which summons little spiders. Want to see how powerful those are. Thank you so much for watching the review, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the part 2.